At Peterson Machine, and we're going to be prepping and testing an MTS multi-strata tank today. So I'm microphoned, and so is Sam.
I don't know.
So you
Stop
it. Here, you be the director. We'll turn you around.
I thought I was going to be doing most of the work, though.
Well, we'll see.
That was her way of saying I have no confidence in you.
No,
I gotta watch how it's done.
Okay, you got to face them the other way, though.
I know. So that way you can watch what's on the screen.
Okay.
Okay.
You're going to be in it. I'm sorry.
All right. So with the tanks, you want to minimize or eliminate touching the shiny surfaces on this one and the MTT. So remember, watch your screen. And so you don't want to like touch it with your hands or rub it, because every time anything happens, if there's motion, you will always leave a trail. Also, that's why I'm wearing gloves. These are more polite to the surface than even my fingers. Okay, here's our prep and test kit. We have our pressure gauge. So we're going to use, this is going to block off the filler port, but you can tell it doesn't fit, so we're going to need to drill that out. Then this will block off the fuel pump opening that we have to make. So like whenever you pick these up, the first thing to not do is turn it over and look at the other side, because you're going to eject all the screws. So if you have to do that, you want to protect your screws. I've been doing this like 15 years and I still turn the damn things over and fly all the screws. So that one's going to happen to you no matter what. Alright, so we're going to definitely do this, and one of these fits up here. There we go. This is the only thing I don't have a drill guide for. So you've got to be careful and not screw that one up. So when I do this, I have the cart against something reasonably stable. The tank is against this edge, and then I have the most control.
Okay.
And then we're going to get...
Do you want to move this so it's against the desk that's heavier, or are you good?
Alright, so you want to use a brushless drill for these hole saws. A brushless drill behaves better. The brushed kind will snap more, so they will be rude. Now on this one, I'll like put it into my side and hip. You can't let it jump out. Wait, is this the right one? This one's too big, isn't it? So probably ought to get a paint pen and write MTS filler on the end. Or we've got it on video, right? Because this is the first time I've done one of these in a few years. Now, another thing too is I always have really careful tool discipline. I'm trying to come at this from as far away, and I'm being very deliberate with this end that's sharp and will ruin stuff. I've got it into my body, and I'm just bending my knees to get the downward force. Now you can run the vacuum while you're doing it, but then you're going to be trying to do too many things. So you notice I didn't try to get up here because we don't want to scratch the surface. Like,
Right.
we're always going to be in your own heads, don't scratch the surface.
Can you explain what this is again?
What's that?
Can you explain what this is again?
So this piece, the casting is the original Ducati part for the filler cap, and then I've blocked it off so it's airtight. Now we just sort of verify it fits, it does, but we're gonna, I guess we could leave it. We'll go ahead and install it, and then we'll go to the next steps. I don't even really try it real hard on these because they're Phillips head and you can't get that much torque. So if you don't tighten the hell out of it and it doesn't leak, then it does a great job not leaking, if that makes sense. I just kind of go until they stop.
You don't overturn.
Right, you don't need to go crazy on them.
Okay, gotcha.
So these tanks sort of have built-in hooks back here at the seat latch. So you see those, they can hook into the edge.
Gotcha.
Do you have a number 3 Phillips? Because I'm hard like that.
So this is the drill guide
Right.
for the
Fuel pump flange opening.
Okay. This is the drill guide for the fuel pump flange opening.
Yes.
Just wanted to repeat it again.
And it's also the cooling fixture during molding.
And the cooling fixture during molding, yes.
So like
correct.
if you get serious about production, you'll make another one of these out of your fuel plate, or if you have any bad fuel plates that you manufacture, you take the hole saw through it, and then one stays in the oven and one stays here.
Gotcha.
Dang, son, I could have driven back to Atlanta by now.
Brian, honey, I think she's going to make it work.
Well, we had them good, but they got a couple of
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah.
Got it.
Alright, so now we're going to do the big scary. And notice like we're far away from the tank when we have... Oh, there's the one I bought for y'all. Hey, check it out. Number 3 Phillips. I know people always gripe about using the right tools for the job, but if you use a number 3 Phillips on the M6 screws, it works really well.
Well, and I have since learned, since knowing you, that everything has a purpose. Every tool has a purpose.
Every dumb thing I do has a valid reason. So here again, hook it into your body somehow so you can suck your top into it. Now we're using a drill guide because these want to catch and jump, and then these sharp teeth go across where the O-ring rides, and then the tank is screwed. So here again, I've got it anchored in my hip and against my ribs. And so that seam, you could see a little bit of the violence, but it's nothing like when you have a brushed motor. It just catches, snatches, and it'll snap into your body. They're really bad news. So now you can see the interior of the tank. It's a smooth, continuous surface. And so the way rotational molding works is the powder starts to gel and it becomes, they call it glass state, and it flows and sticks to everything hot. So there are no seams in the plastic. This seam is fake. You can see how continuously smooth the material goes through.
Okay.
In fact, even here, you see there's a dimple, and there's
no
just
dimple.
a gentle
Oh,
lump.
okay, I see.
So you've got a continuous surface, smooth surface over every feature. We used to use a drill guide as, this was a drill guide and you had the bit in the middle of the big hole saw and it still jumped out. I literally cried when that happened because then I had to make a new tank.
Oh, yes.
Nope. You can turn it off if you push and hold the little button on the bottom of it where your thumb is. Then the green light will go out on it.
We talked about that the other day. So that must be why.
No side conversations during the meeting.
Oh, well.
I'm being silly.
It's nothing fun, so just me giving him a hard time.
All right.
That's what I do.
This thing really scares me. Like you can even see on the drill guide where it got loose and
Yeah.
ate lunch. Alright, so this tank is for an M. He's got the 1100, right? 1100 or 1000.
Yes.
So on the 620, they were cheap because it was the base model. So you don't drill this out for the 620.
You don't drill this out for the 620. Okay.
Correct. So the 1000 and 1100 Multistradas has an actual fuel gauge.
Now that you've asked, it's like I would feel more comfortable if I went. I mean, I know it's an 1100,
That's fine.
but okay.
We're gonna roll with it because
Okay.
620s are rare and they have to
Okay.
make a big deal because that's
Okay.
part of, like, they know.
Yeah.
They know this can't.
Yeah.
If this comes as a whole, then he's got to come up with
Let me see I can check his email.
a plate. Oh yeah, there you go. So if you end up with a hole and you don't want it, then you got to have some kind of block off plate. We made this for testing. So if you have a tank that you think is compromised and you've already prepped it, that's why we have this. So you put any kind of O-ring that's the right size, bolt it on, and then you can pressure test this interface.
Have an issue out in the back.
Right. So say we're doing something and then we scratched across where an O-ring goes and you worry,
Okay, you block it back off.
so you block it back off.
Yeah.
You're about ready for air then.
Yes.
You got, the adapter.
Well, we could do air anywhere. We don't need it here.
Oh, yeah, we got it.
So you just double check that the surface is clear or clean or whatever.
Yes, 1100S.
Scores. So before we do any more holes, we're going to test it to make sure none of the inserts are leaking or there's any other issues. I kind of gently look at the bottom, make sure there's no debris.
And it's 2007. Did I say that already?
The year doesn't matter.
Okay.
Not on this one. Seriously? So this same test fixture is used on the MTS and MTT tanks. Unless you make extras, and then you can have devoted devoted equipment, but
They use the same flange.
right.
For the adapter, like when they sold to each ship.
Right, the interface is the same, so we use the same plate to test both. So the things with green are not normal shop air, but don't go try to stick shop air on here because the HM69 tank at 20 psi, a side panel blows out.
At 20 psi. Oh, so there's no need even trying to.
Yeah, so if you put full pressure to this, some panel somewhere is going to explode at high velocity. So on the HM69, when I was like building the test fixture and figuring out pressures, it was sounded like a gunshot, and the side panel hit the ceiling at the other shop. So that's why we have a very low pressure regulator and a 5 psi gauge. Oh, the cart rolls. We can take it to the air. Genius.
Probably gonna need to get another shop vac like that, just for the tanks. What is this? People are gonna watch this video and want to send us.
So, oh, is this industrial? It's probably industrial, right? Yeah, okay. So we hook up the air. You've got a low pressure regulator, a needle valve, a bleeder valve, the gauge. Just open the needle. So as this starts climbing, you will see areas start deforming inward, and that's fine because it'll return to its shape.
Oh, really? Can you see if you catch that, just in case, so we know that it's, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
so
watch along this surface and it'll come inward. There you go, you see it expanding?
No.
This is moving.
Oh. I guess you're so used to seeing it, though, and knowing what to look for.
Is your air on?
We are Peterson Machine and Design in Greenback, Tennessee. We do not have a Venmo set up.
We what?
We do not have a Venmo set up.
Yeah.
But if you need us to, we will set one up.
So yeah, we're transferring the oven and all the tank production to the Petersons. They're so awesome, and they kind of meet our same goals about customer satisfaction and making people happy and doing a good job. We still don't have the air on.
Great.
We could test right now because we do have 2 psi. I don't know.
You may tip you good? We're both like, why are we wearing gloves?
Actually, you probably can see a little bit of a bulge. This area right here should be flat, but it's got a little, it's got a little bit of a bulge there, and that's fine. So if you do a tank test and you put 4.5 psi in, and it comes, an inch inward.
I mean, you're doing this with every tank anyway.
Every tank, and so if it deforms a little bit extra, leave it out in the sun, you'll be fine.
Okay.
150 is regulated down to 120.
Okay.
Unless there's something weird with this.
Yeah, this is all the way on. Yeah, we've got enough.
Okay.
That is weird. close the valve. Close this. You can bleed off the air. So what the heck? Maybe the regulator's bad on my gizmo.
Okay, so now explain what you're doing.
We are going to dump the tank that has pressurized air and make sure no bubbles come out of it. So as always, you got to make sure you don't screw up the shiny surface. So I'm pushing it kind of away from me to go. Usually you could get the whole thing. Now you watch for bubbles to come up. One bubble came up out of a seat hole, but there's no bubbles. So you'll see a lone bubble coming up, and the surface of the water doesn't have any bubbles. So if you see bubbles anywhere, you make sure they're for a reason, right?
Right.
So
you don't have to do the whole thing, or you have to?
You do. So what's going on here? Oh, there's bubbles. We didn't tighten that enough.
Oh, I see that.
So let's go get the Phillips head.
Which one is that?
Number 2.
Yeah. Right there.
A little bit of extra. Oh yeah, that one's loose. So that was a great example of that is a very typical leak you would see if you had an insert blown. Now you can tell it's leaking from the screw itself, so y'all are going to have to make that not leak.
Okay.
Like you see, it's coming out of my screw that's part of the air tightness, so it has a copper washer. Maybe just redo it.
Okay.
So yeah, this is it'll be about a third of this rate, but you'll see bubbles coming up.
So you will always see bubbles coming up?
You will always see, well, right now, yeah, because the fitting we made leaks.
Right, okay.
But if you see bubbles come out of the middle of the tank like that.
Right, yeah, that's different.
Now we test the fuel flange while trying to not touch the top of the tank. Now we've immersed the entire tank by now.
I just saw.
The other known place of problem are on the back of these 2 tabs. We would have issues with those leaking around the insert.
Okay.
And this test always finds that.
Okay.
So when we had our tanks made before, they didn't carefully test them. They had a fish tank. They'd put their thumb in one vent hole, put a blow tip in the other vent hole, pressurize it, and dunk it. Yep, that's good. So part of the reason we test like this uses the factory O-ring and interface, so we're confident we didn't screw up where the O-ring goes.
Right.
It's going to be fine.
Okay.
Let our air off. Do you have blue shop towels?
We have white shop towels.
I usually use the blue ones because they don't scratch.
I think those are the same texture. I'm not 100% sure. We can get some blue ones, but...
So let's check back here. Okay, that's safe.
Okay.
So I use blue shop towels like this one. And without applying pressure, you're just trying to dry it.
Okay.
So everything that touches this surface, in fact, there's a few, I just added a couple. So that's why we always minimize contact with the shiny surfaces, because it's going to happen no matter what. That is a feature of polyethylene. It's not a bug, it's a feature. All right, let's go back over to the other place. A lot of times I'll use a power tool at this point to remove just because it's faster. But always, like, even with power tools, I'm always very careful with tool discipline to keep it away from the shiny, because it's just
Yeah. Better safe than sorry.
well, the thing is like, I'm always very aware of my own personal space, and you'd be surprised how easy it is to get real close to the surface with tools. And that's like a human thing. It's not like, you know, people are better or worse mechanics. It's just simply, literally, it's just simply tool discipline. So that's the O-ring, the same as the factory O-ring that seals on the tank. So when we designed the mold, we perfectly mimicked how the factory tank is shaped right here. So while we're here, we'll do this one. Oh wait, we gotta take the other thing off. See, it's like kind of wonky because we have that on there. Somewhere we've got snips that are very flush. Usually I use that on here. When they made the tool, the drill bushings for the two ends don't line up, so they broke that bushing. And the way I modified the tool and its tooling, it won't do that. So what I ended up doing was I made bolts that come through here, and they don't try to go through the matched fitting on the other side. Instead, I come from the other side with an M6 screw, so it doesn't need to be precise.
Okay.
When it is precise, they don't line up because they were in a hurry, and then you end up breaking drill bushings because okay, we're on the bottom, so we would use that clippy thing, but we don't know where it is. It's probably in some of the junk I
where would it? I was going to say, or there's X-Acto knives in there if you. So what are you putting on here now? The drill guide?
This is the drill guide for the fuel level gauge. So the Multistrada is unique. It has an actual level indicator. The fuel pump flanges for their EFI has a low fuel on-off switch, not an actual level gauge.
And so this won't be, you will not drill this for a 620.
Correct. This hole stays put for 620.
Okay.
The cool part is you have the inserts here, so a 620 owner can go buy those pieces and upgrade their bike.
Okay.
That's what I was gonna ask today, but yeah.
And the factory 620 tanks do not have inserts here, so they can't upgrade.
He's got those, or we have, like I said, all the kinds of knives if you think it'll cut through this. Those nippers right there. They're just not very, you know.
Ooh, perfect.
So it's a 2-inch. Oops, jeez, that was lame. You're not lame. Did you get the piece out of there?
This one and the last one are still inside.
Oh, okay.
I love having Phillips head screws for this production because honestly, you use the right driver, they last almost forever.
Yeah.
And they're faster than trying to get a hex in there. So the next thing I'll do is I'll put the tool with its drill guide and put them back in the box. So this one, this one was bare, right? This was the filler. Okay.
Oh, that was from the filler.
All right, so
that
now
was okay.
we're gonna flip it.
Do you want to try and cut this with knife, or do you want to wait?
And we'll do the drilling stuff.
Okay.
Now we have to do this one. So when y'all make your future tools and molds, you're not going to have these 6 screws pointing in 6 different directions.
Okay.
Because you'll have a fixture for your mold, and then you can just use a mill to come in for each hole. They did these by hand, so if you put screws in, these are not on an ideal circle, nor are they all pointing in the same direction. This one you can look at and tell that it's tilted off to the side.
Nice.
So I only have 2 screws.
Right.
And you see I say front. You sort of look down the hole to make sure, like, you see how the edge is not sticking inward of the drill guide.
Okay.
So we're protecting the plastic where it seals. And there's 3 nuts on each one because that was the right length. I didn't have one that was perfect. And I didn't want to wait for it to show up. So these are for inserts on the mold. This is the air vent because where the seat is traps air. And so they screw the 620 owners and don't give them this, so you have less range with the same tank.
Oh.
So this one actually, many 620 owners should upgrade with the factory part, and then they themselves can drill this out carefully, or you can use a die grinder with a carbide, not ball, but a shank, and then they can drive around inside as long as they don't come up on top and screw up the surface.
Gotcha. I just want to move it a little closer.
So here you can look in and see that we're violating the inside lumps of the encapsulating plastic. So the polyethylene goes over everything and makes a kind of big lump. So what I was saying is that you can see these lumps. When the polyethylene goes over an insert, it completely covers it in all dimensions.
Okay.
So the insert itself does not ever see gasoline.
Okay.
So the inside of the tank, you cannot have gasoline touching this piece of brass. It will always leak. That's why that encapsulates it fully, and then it doesn't leak.
Okay. I think I understand what you're saying. If not, they will explain it to me at some point.
There are other tanks where they use this larger as a pass-through port. You have to have a sealing ring around the plastic itself. So anytime you have brass touching plastic, gas will get through if the gas can see the brass on the inside.
Okay.
I made a test plug.
Oh, okay. Cool.
Wait, this one's top rear flange. Okay. Oh no, I left that lip. We have to get rid of the lip.
Okay, so that's good that you caught that. Okay, gotcha. To wipe your face. I got told to get you some.
So we actually didn't drill that down far enough, and I left that step.
So she's having to re-drill. Because there's a lip in here.
And that
If
test
you wanna
gauge,
come look.
that test gauge didn't go through the hole.
So,
I had doing both depth and diameter. Or is it doing?
shook. I'm wanting you to look, hon. Right here.
Yeah.
So I just put a little bit of an angle on it and went back and forth.
Okay.
So we edge machined it basically.
Okay.
So that and this. I was about to say seriously.
Okay.
And that's why I made that, because if the people prepping the tank, aka the factory in LA who used to be, if they didn't use this and it didn't fit, the customer gets this and I have to talk them through how to use a Dremel.
Oh, yeah, okay.
And it's like, you don't do that. Just do it right the first time.
So do you don't clean that up anymore? Or
I
anything
will.
like that?
I will with the knife.
Okay, gotcha.
And then so we have the top filler, but I'm not as worried about this because we use the OEM part to prep the tank for our like we use the factory part, so we don't need the test gauge on the filler. We'll set this aside a sec.
You may shake this off.
That's next because we don't want to grind these pieces into the top of the tank.
Gotcha.
So if we set the top of the tank here and there's plastic, the plastic will scratch the plastic.
Gotcha. Oh, look at that. We can always blow air through that, right? To see if that'll come through
You
or
can
out.
try.
Oh, I don't like that you said it that way. What do you mean?
There's
No, I
static.
meant like get the pressurized air.
Yeah, you can. The thing is, there's so much static electricity.
Oh.
So the best way to get chips out is if you have a damp rag.
Krista, I hope no one's watching this. Come on, man. Okay, I see what you're saying.
So this will discharge the static.
Sorry.
You could also get the ion gun. Yeah, so if you research static electricity handling, they have like ion guns with pressurized air for getting this out.
Okay. Yeah, honestly, looking at some of the stuff on Roto
World, yeah.
Yes. I think I've seen some of that stuff.
So the factory tank has a pipe, two pipes actually inside that come through to the back. We have a transfer port right here so that rainwater can leave the top of the tank.
Okay.
So we're going to thread this to fit our 8th NPT fitting.
What you looking for?
Can you grab that, please?
The bag?
Impact. So 8th NPT is remarkably similar to...
I'm sorry, can you say that again? What'd you say again?
So 1/8 NPT threads.
NPT, what does that mean?
National pipe thread.
Okay.
Tapered.
That's just for me. I don't know,
So it's remarkably similar to M10 by 1. Like, especially with plastic.
Okay.
And then has a hex, so I just put it on there.
Yeah, makes sense.
Ooh, and it comes with its own power.
Every tool has a purpose. That is a normal sound?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Battery died.
Oh. Do we have a charger for those?
Yeah.
Where's it at?
Over there.
Okay. You want to, could you care to find it, Brian? Or, thank you, honey.
There you go, you're on it. So this tool and this fitting is used on the MTS tank and the MTT tank.
Okay.
So I only have one of these. So if you're trying to do a tank and this is not in your tank kit, look in the other tank kits box.
Okay.
Because there's only one used on both. So I hadn't come up with a foolproof way for that.
Okay, thank you.
So now you check that this fits. And it kind of, oh yeah, it's sort of. So if it won't go, you need to trim the corners off and you need to trim this off.
Trim the corners of the fitting you've got there?
Yeah, because there were shortcuts made making this mold. So we're going to kind of.
And that won't go through the tank? Oh, I see what you're doing. Okay.
I have a bigger.
Could you use a Dremel to do that?
You could use anything on that.
Okay. I was like, there's all kinds of different blades if you want to try them. I want to make sure when we come to getting the flash, I want you to show me a couple of different scenarios of acceptable flash. You know what I'm saying? Because I don't want to leave that up to question, because that is going to be probably the biggest thing with the finished tanks, you know, that we already have.
So obviously if you get a fitting that has a huge hex, that's not going to work. I'm not sure if we have a specific vendor for these exact parts or if these were just McMaster. Now we have the threads engaging. So the MTT tank, this hole is true to the bottom. On the MTS tank, this hole is true to the top. So the top and bottom of the tank are at different angles.
Right.
That's why this is a little goofy. And then you have to remember after you've tested it to take this out.
Okay.
Because if you flame it with this on, this
yes, do not flame. Yes, that was the one.
So we're going to take this and put it with the instructions.
Okay.
That way we might not forget.
Gotcha.
So that's kind of, I call this part test and prep.
Okay.
We've drilled the holes, we've tested it. Now we have to do cosmetics. So
which is still prepping though.
It's still technically prepping, but when I say prep, I mean the stuff you need special tooling for. So now we're going to do the flash.
Okay.
Which is, I mean, we're doing the flash everywhere. This is technically flash, even though it's a little worse and more. So yeah, you're not going to really worry too much about if you're working on the surface of the tank and you're like, well, is that going to leak? This is how thick the tank is.
Yeah.
So we set our shot weights so that this will be a minimum of 0.2 inches.
Oh.
So like when you say you make a new mold, the first few times you run it, you're going to have inserts to test where they're located, but then you're also going to cut the tank apart everywhere to look for thinness. And if you're too thin anywhere, you got to add weight to make it thicker everywhere.
Okay.
So the thickness is based on the heat. So like right here is historically the least heat because it's shrouded in the tool. So this would be the thinnest part of of this tank,
Okay.
because the outside gets all the heat. However, this came from the top one, that's why it's so thick. How about the other one? Oh yeah, here you go. You can tell. So this one was here.
Okay.
That's what heat does.
Gotcha.
So we go for about 200 thickness. And then this one's probably 3.
Oh, you said 2 inch a minute ago. You meant 200. Okay.
Yeah, 200ths of an inch or
Okay,
0.2
200ths
inches.
of an inch.
Right.
Okay. I was like, that's not 2 inches.
Or 2/10.
Just over 3/16.
I know. Well, I mean, listen to all this metric crap.
Oh,
it's
it's
metric.
remarkably similar to 5 millimeters.
Well, that's not, we're going metric.
You did? Well, that's what
Well,
you
yeah, that's.
So now we're doing the cosmetics, aesthetics. We're gonna get a fresh pair of gloves so maybe we don't slice our own selves.
There's extra in there. Yeah, in the cabinet.
Pretty much anything you do while trimming, the customer has to be happy with.
Yeah.
It sounds a little bit harsh to say it that way, but it is the truth.
Which knife are you using? Just a standard?
So this is your standard. This would be a number 11, except for I like the drop point,
Okay.
or they'll call this a bevel tip. Normally, the 11s are straight all the way out, but
Okay.
somehow something about this drop tip works with my brain better.
Okay.
And so when you're trimming, what I say is, when I say you, I mean me, but you want to have the knife on the side that's higher. So this side is higher than that side.
Okay.
And then, so this would be kind of ugly if you did that on the top of the tank.
Right, right,
But you're not going to fail a tank because of that. You can't.
right.
So you try not to do a big gouge like that on the top of the tank. So I always start on the bottom.
Ultimately, these things are still very much a handmade at the end.
Yeah. Do you want a napkin or rag? Or are you good? I just didn't want you to have to keep. I need to get you a sweatband. Make you one.
All right, so now coming through here is always tricky. Here's where I like the drop tip. So you see how the point is sticking through?
What do you mean? Can you say that differently?
So the point of the knife sticks through the plastic to the
okay.
inside.
Yes, yes.
So
okay, so you follow
I've got it to where instead of going like this and digging in,
Yes, okay.
I've got it to where I'm like this.
Perfect. Yeah, okay, that makes sense.
So just kind of try, that's all.
Okay.
And then it totally stops, so then you kind of...
My only issue is that I have a difficult time holding it like that. It's like I'm not comfortable unless I'm pulling it towards myself.
Well, that's fine too. I mean,
Okay.
you're not supposed to, but
No.
what works?
Okay.
That's what it boils down to.
Can I try on the underside, or would you rather?
Oh, no, totally. Here, another thing I do is this hand I do not push with.
Right, you push with your thumb.
I take my other hand and brace it, and then it pushes. Then this hand does the angle, so you can choose how much you're biting. And you just want a consistent bite. And I still can't believe the Mexican ladies in Long Beach, they came up to this freehand, one swipe, they did the whole thing.
They just did it with the start.
They just go. They go all in, all the way, they just go. And it's like
They gotta get
the
those pieces
confidence,
out, you know?
they just don't care.
Once you've done a few thousand pieces, you know.
Yeah, they do that.
Okay, why is it not like?
They do that half of their 8-hour day. And, you know, it comes down to your brain, right?
Well, like, so this is what I'm talking about right here. So this, if you run your finger across that, you can tell that it's not level, but is it acceptable?
That's acceptable.
Okay.
It has to be. And that's why for me personally, I do the top last. And then I get chairs, I'm comfortable,
Got warmed up on the bottom.
whatever it takes to have a steady hand when you're doing the top that everyone sees every day. So that spot you did is better, a little bit better and just as consistent as mine. Now, here, you could leave this part right here, who cares?
Right.
But back here, you would want to get this
Right.
because it shows. Like, what does the customer see? This is about the customer not calling you and yelling at you.
Well, see, it's almost like I would rather almost do a video like this, prepping a tank, a little bit more, professional and less distraction for a customer.
Absolutely.
So that if they have questions, they can say, okay, I see.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. And then once you've done these tanks a few times, you're going to be a lot more comfortable doing it to film it. Now see, I would say, to me, you're pushing too hard, but that's irrelevant. That's for me. You're doing what works for you to make it work. And it doesn't matter what your process is if you get it done.
Okay. So does that need to go down more?
This is perfect. You could leave this. I would come after it again just to make it more like the back. There, now you can see there's one little spot where it's raised up. Oh, I can't believe you can freehand. Maybe ability to freehand is stored in the boobs. I'm getting there.
There's a lot of stuff stored there.
So now just drive around this to get rid of that flash.
I'm gonna come back to this,
sure.
okay? Just to see. No.
So the part that's raised up where the flash is the interface between the aluminum and the steel drill boss or drill bushing.
Okay.
So you use the steel drill bushing on the mold to protect the aluminum.
It's almost like
from the inserts.
we need something that can be completely flat and flexible. You know what I mean? A longer, flexible blade that will allow to hold.
Maybe tapered a little more.
Yeah, maybe. Because it's like if I'm angling like this, I'm catching with the top of the blade. You know what I mean? So you have to have it flat, but then it's hard to get in there flat because you have the here.
I wonder what diameter that is. I was actually thinking about if that's a close to the right diameter, you could almost get by with a standard counterboard bit, like a unis, because they got in there and it'd be oversized for the counterboard. You could just sort of sit it down there and spin it, and it would take that flash off. You wouldn't have to worry about it.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Did you say sit and spin?
In the nicest way possible.
Why won't this go?
See, like, look, I was able to get that flat like that, and it went around that edge really nicely and took it. I mean, feel that. There's nothing there.
Hey, I might have to go with my leg up for a minute.
Okay. Well, just bring a chair back here.
Is this on YouTube?
Yeah.
Ain't nobody watching it?
No, but I got a monitor. I can watch it while I'm
Oh, okay. That's fair.
then for when I'm not good at it, I'll do this.
Okay, go ahead.
But it's starting to kind of swell a little bit where it's nice. Sorry.
He said you can get a chair and then he can go in there.
Oh,
How's that? Is that acceptable?
Totally. Let me
Okay.
see your knife. I think this one's bigger. So apparently some of the blades are wider, right?
Uh-huh. Now what? Now go here, try it or no?
Yeah. See how you were talking about you want something flat.
It's not going to go through that though.
Yeah, you gotta take bites. That might need the thumb, but not against. Yeah, you're right.
it's just like that, but there's a tiny little serrated blade with it. That way you could kind of saw.
It try to dig.
It might dig, yeah.
Yeah, it'll try to dig.
As soon as it finds a weak spot, it's going to go towards it.
Sweet Christ. Let me try this first. That is really...
I think what I'm saying, I think we can do that.
Yeah. Yeah. Hand me that.
Here we
I could draw a tool company.
Oh, yeah. While you're doing, I was going to let you continue that with... Oh. I'm not going to do it hard.
Yeah, so here I'm just taking bites of it.
Yeah.
How could I do it towards me? Like this?
I guess.
I mean, I guess that works. Like, the whole thing of using two hands is that you try to catch the flyaway.
Yeah.
So, for me, what I found is when you're trying to push away, it'll give and, like, launch. So, like,
Yeah.
like
Well, I mean,
that.
I'm holding on to... I mean, I'm not trying to, you know...
But no matter what, you always have that, it lets go and you lose control. So I don't
Yeah.
like to lose control, and that's why I do the thumb trick. Here I'm just using my thumb as a fulcrum, and then I'm twisting the knife around
not.
my thumb.
No, I'm not. I see it.
So like this stays put, and I'm using it like a lever.
Okay.
Then I could get more force.
Okay.
So that's purely about force, not necessarily technique. That was technique. Right? I mean, I did that quickly and it looks great, and I made it look easy.
So this is enough?
That's perfect. Who
'cause
cares?
it's on, yeah, it's on the underside of the tank. See, I'm afraid I'm going to dig into the tank.
That's fine. It's 2/10 or 2. Well, yeah, 2/10 of an inch thick. You ain't gonna dig.
This has got to be the worst.
Eventually, you'll get pretty good at it.
Will I? Because it looks like I'm digging into the tank. Here, Sean, do you want to try?
This is me showing off. But you get good at it. You build the muscle memory. You know what works, you know what doesn't. Now see that when
Yeah.
it went away from you, that's the part that scares me. Like, I don't like it when it launches like that.
Why'd that come out?
It's not tight enough. Fell out. So like here, what I'm doing is I'm pushing the tank into the cart.
Uh-huh.
Now also I'm going uphill. And you have more tendency to dig in. So here, this part is lower and this part's raised up. And now you have to come at an angle and you have to keep the tip outside of where you're cutting. And so you end up catching this too because you're going uphill. That's why I'm always like, try to do it to where your handle is uphill, not the blade. So this tank does have some bubbling in the surface, and so that's fine. It's normal, it happens, and they don't go all the way through. Because you saw how thick it is. Was it the Hamiltons say on YouTube? You gotta hold your tongue just right, or hold your mouth just right to do something complicated.
Oh, I'm not familiar.
Joke, you know, like you make a face.
Oh yeah,
with your-
just yeah. You're not holding your tongue right. I get. Yep.
I don't know if on that show.
I was gonna say I've.
That's a very southern thing. So here again, I'm going uphill, and we have to be a little bit careful because this is the surface they see. When we started doing the tanks ourselves in Conyers, some of them were trimmed really miserably. I mean, I'm not gonna lie, they were sort of atrocious.
Well, it definitely helps seeing you do it and watching, you know, methods and all that stuff.
So here, be remembering that you don't want to screw up where the O-ring goes, so be very careful. If you're doing this and it slips and that tip drives across, you're going to be there for an hour and a half sanding it to get it to seal again.
Okay.
So never ever let this tip, because that's what it's going to do. You're going to be doing this, and it's going to go, shing, and then you're going to cry. I've done it so many times. And that's why we have the pressure testers, and then you can verify that you did or did not make it leak, and then eventually you fixed it. So I do try to get rid of the hairs.
Yeah.
That's plenty fine. So now we've got this whole side. Yeah, so the in and out wavy, you really don't want that.
Yeah.
And so, because I'm all about that thumb thing, once you get your glide started, you can be more consistent.
Yeah.
Like, I know you like to pull towards you, but my thing is how do I do my thumb trick? And that's just my technique and my way. Your way is fine, but you've got to figure out how to make it work.
Yeah.
Dang, that's... So yeah, you're going to be cutting along that face. That's fine. I mean, you're going to cut along that face. You're not going to cut through the tank. It's not going to leak. It's going to be okay. If I can get it right, I can do that trick. There we go. Try to just take the flash off, but it's hard to not make it look ugly too. trade-off of one professional versus another level of professional. Yeah, so this was made March of 2021.
Okay.
Over 2 years ago. That's crazy.
It is crazy.
They're like, oh, everyone's gonna buy these. Nope. So some gotchas that you'll see on the top surface of the tank. You can see through here the tip was touching. So you don't want to do that on the top.
Right.
The other thing you'll do is you'll drag this into the surface.
Yep.
Or you'll make that happen, that little, one of us got a whammy there. And I do mean one of us. I might have done that. I don't know. I don't care as much back here. Are we almost done on the bottom? I think we might be. What's this? Okay. Oh yeah, this needs to get done. Corners like that are really hard. So you saw how I made it look easy? Yeah, it's not. I rarely do them that good.
Yeah, it's on the bottom though.
What's bothering you?
No, just that's on the where they won't see it on against the bike.
Oh, check it out.
What? Check what out?
I got it.
Oh. This drives me crazy. I'll let you finish that one if it needs it.
That works.
Okay. Okay, hold on, let's shake it off. You want to remove it and then...
Yeah.
Even though it's the bottom of the tank now?
It's just good discipline to always have your mat clean. Because, you know, you might flip the tank over and you're like, oh, crap.
I'm not going to touch this. This will be you.
So here's another great part to practice is back here. You just, you know, you've got more stuff to get your mojo on. I'm actually going to want a chair to do that so I can half put it in my lap because...
Yeah. Well, no, that's what I found easiest when I was practicing it, like in the office and stuff. So we can take a break after you finish that part and then come back and finish. And we can just label this one MTS Part 1.
Yeah, and then when you go live from a phone, it doesn't share them by default. Like, people can watch right now, but as soon as we done and in the broadcast, we have to go in and edit the video to make it public and then publish it. Okay. So they assume when you go live, it's not for prosperity's sake.
Yeah.
You're like, oh yeah, you're just screwing off and whatever. It's not necessarily, you don't want that as a video on your brand.
Yeah.
I do it because I don't need to do editing. I don't need to store the video. I don't need to organize where they're located.
Yeah.
If I really want later, I can download the live and I can edit it and voice over or whatever I need.
Yeah.
So one thing the customer might need to do is they might need to come in and get this flash.
Okay.
So like this part right here on the video, whenever this is, 48 minutes in.
1 hour, 10 minutes.
Jeez. You know, you can see, okay, go to 110 on Krista's video, and you got to do this, and make sure you don't drag that tip across where your tank seals.
Okay.
So you just have to be very deliberate. Same in here, just be very deliberate. So like it does this, I have to keep the tool down so we don't come out.
Right.
So you can kind of do a little curly cue. So here I'm literally digging it into the edge and I'm just turning the handle and it happens to coincidentally work.
Okay.
I'm not really even trying to do a good job with these little weird edges. I'm just getting rid of the flash I made.
Okay.
So the holes are all about just having a professional appearance when someone puts something in it. Like shaving,
Sorry.
I guess.
Wow, Krista.
Uh-huh.
Let's go ahead and stop
Oh, we
right
don't-
here
Okay.
because I have to.
So you just push and hold that little power button until the green light goes out.